Hello everybody, hope you guys are all enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at your next winter storm over parts of the northern United States, which is going to be including parts of the north central United States, the Midwest, into the Great Lakes, and also the Northwest. Also the Southwest and the South central United States will be impacted mostly in the form of rainfall, but there could be a little bit of snowfall out of the system. Now it is very far out from the system. We are about 3 to 7 days out from the system, depending on where you live in the U.S., and it is going to change a lot. Now, the storm track, that's what we're trying to figure out more on in this video. And I just want to inform you guys that there is going to be a storm system in this video. So, everything that all the model data that you see in this video, take it with a grain of salt. Of course, none of this is going to be exactly correct, and it's just one model's prediction of what's going to happen. So it's not really set in stone. Then this is exactly what's going to happen. So we're going to be looking at the European and the GFS model, two of the most reliable models in my opinion, for longer range forecasting. So we are going to be looking at those two. And we are also going to be looking at kind of a more scientific look at what's happening in the atmosphere with these systems. Now, we are going to start off with the National Weather Service. We have Winter Storm Jacob over parts of the Northeast and Great Lakes and Midwest as well. You have some winter storm warnings in the pinks, winter weather advisories in the purples, and blizzard warnings even over parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Iowa. You're not really seeing any falling snow, but you are seeing some blowing snow that is from snow that's already fallen on the ground. So it's nothing. It's no new snow. It's just already fallen snow, powdery snow, very dry snow that's easily picked up by this wind and kind of moved along, and that does cause blizzard conditions right there. Now we also have some wind chill advisories underneath most of these warnings and watches and advisories. You have some wind chill advisories. It is going to be very cold in these areas, and this week I do plan to make a video about the cold weather that does look to come into the U.S. Now, we also have some winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings not associated with Winter Storm Jacob, and that's over parts of the northwestern United States. Now, here is the European model, and we're going to be kind of looking through this and kind of seeing, kind of trying to make up our minds on the system. Now, here is your system. Your system is coming out of the southwest here. It's currently, or at least at this time period, according to the European model, and both the European and the GFS model have this coming onto shore somewhere between Central California and Baja California. So somewhere in between there is where it's going to come onto shore. And you see, it's just rainfall at this point. Now, this would be for Tuesday afternoon. Now, as we get into your Wednesday, this is when it starts to really get its act together according to the European model. And this will be the 22nd. You see this, all this rain over here. This is your system. Now, also, if we do move this back, you'll see we do get a little bit of this energy coming off of this system, this much larger system out over parts of the northwest. Now, a little bit of this energy is going to break off and kind of combine with this energy, and they're going to kind of meet together to make potentially what we could call a big system if we do get closer and the models are still showing this. Now, as we continue, this is going to be a very messy system, according to both the models. Both the models have a lot of ice with this system, a lot of freezing rain and mixing, and they also have quite a little bit of snow. Now, we're not too certain on the snow, or at least where it's going to place, and we're also not certain on where this rain is going to place, because we could have a little bit of severe weather with this event, but that's very unlikely that we will have severe weather, but it is definitely a prospect here that could happen. Now, here coming into Thursday morning, you're seeing snowfall according to the European model breaking out over the Midwest. Now, this is most likely going to change as that freezing line somewhere right between Chicago and then moving through Iowa and into northern Missouri and central Illinois as well. So that's where the European places the freezing line. Now, we're going to also look at the GFS in just a moment. Now, as we continue this, snow, according to this, kind of wraps up your low pressure, would be situated somewhere right around here. And kind of wrapping around on that northwest side, you're seeing that wrap around cold air. You have some, you also have some southwesterly winds on the eastern side of this event. And then as we continue this will be for Saturday, and now getting into Sunday, it's moving into the northeast, and now it's moving out into parts of eastern Canada, where they actually had a blizzard which produced 4-inch per hour snowfall rate. So that was a very, that was one of the systems that actually went on from the east coast and then kind of just rose road off and into Canada, and they actually produced a 954 millibar low pressure system that produced over 100 mile per hour winds over Newfoundland and Labrador. It's pretty cool, and the satellite imagery, it looked very impressive on satellite imagery. I wish I pulled that up for you guys, but getting back to this system, you do have that wraparound snowfall showers. According to this model, you could have the prospects of seeing a low pressure develop offshore, so a secondary low pressure that could definitely intensify your amounts over the coastal areas of the Northeast if that did happen. Now, the models aren't showing that quite yet, but there is definitely the possibility that that is something that could happen. Here are the geopotential heights from the European ensemble models. The European, the standard European doesn't have this, but this is the European ensemble model, so it's pretty much the same thing that the European model is showing, but it's kind of more of an averaged out look. The blues, the greens, the purples, those are your low pressures, and these are your high pressures. These reds, browns, oranges, all those are your high pressures. So your low pressures are your storm systems. Now, as we see, you start to see this digging into this blocking ridge pattern. Here's your main low pressure system. This is going to move through into the Midwest as we continue this. Now, there's this really strong high pressure, and this is going to be allowing this cold air to sink south. Now, this is kind of like what we had with Winter Storm Jacob, but it's going to be, this high pressure isn't going to play as much of an effect into this system as Winter Storm Jacob did. Now, as we continue this, you see, the European has a much weaker system, and also has a little bit further to the south than the GFS has it. And it really doesn't even have any blue on the map anymore. Now, this would be your low pressure system, your average area, and even it turns even into a little bit of above average height anomaly. So this would be a very weak low pressure system if the European were to be correct, and this would kind of move out into the eastern United States. Now, here is your total snowfall. Now, this is your snowfall from Winter Storm Jacob, and now here's your added on snowfall. So you're seeing about from the European model. Now, don't take these numbers too seriously. They're probably going to change by quite a little bit over these areas. So this is going to be a storm system that could add another 6 to 12 inches if the European were to be correct. That's all I wanted to show with these snowfall maps, not to really take them to heart or anything like that. Now, here is the GFS model, and we're going to see what the GFS is showing. Now, here is your system, a very weak system as it starts to gather over the southwest. Now, this would be for Tuesday. You see, here's your blocking high pressure that we saw in those height anomaly maps right over parts of Iowa, according to this model. Here's your energy right up over here. So here's a low pressure system, and that's going to track north and east into the United States. Now, here, as we continue this, start to see, now you see the GFS is bringing this well far to the north. Your low pressure is still over Texas and Oklahoma, but it's bringing rain all the way up to Minneapolis, according to this model. So this would be Thursday morning by this point, according to the GFS. It's showing this kind of very far to the north for January. Usually you see these systems farther to the south. It's bringing that rain snow line into the northeast, and then it kind of departs as you get to Sunday afternoon, and maybe some back-end snowfall for the northeast. Now, here is your height anomaly map from the GFS model. Now, here, as we continue this, here is your storm system over the southwest. Now, originally, this system is very hard to pick out on your upper air maps. Now, this is your low pressure system. It started over here, and you kind of see this little opening right here. This is your low pressure system by Tuesday morning. So as we continue this, it starts to intensify a little bit. It joins with this other low pressure system up to the north, and by this point, your low pressure is dipping south into Colorado by Thursday, and now at least this is your upper level low pressure system. So your surface low pressure system is somewhere over Texas by this point. Your upper level low pressure system is somewhere over parts of Colorado. So there is a little bit of difference between the surface and upper level low pressure systems. Now, as we continue this, it starts to move into the Midwest. Now, you see the European model tracked this very far to the south. It tracked it over here. The GFS model has it tracking somewhat like this. So that's a really big difference. That's gonna be a really big factor, where does the storm system set up? Because that's going to be something that really tells the tale of what's going to happen with the system. And the GFS transfers this off to the coast, and then it moves off the east coast by sometime early next week. Here is your snowfall from Jacob, and now we're going to add, this is your total accumulated snow depth change. So I like to use this with the GFS model, and it gives a more accurate representation. Now this is how much your snow depth changed, so how much more snow how much more snow depth you added on. Now here is after this. So you see, not a whole lot from this system. A couple banding areas could get up to 6 inches or a little bit more, and even into in New England, you could see a little bit of snowfall out of this. But this is, again, closer to 4 to 7 days out, and even a little bit longer than that out. So there is going to still be a lot of change out of here. So don't take these numbers to heart because they are going to change quite a lot. I just wanted to show you a little update on this system because it has been in the models for quite a little bit. It has been there for about 2 to 3 days. So the models are starting to get acquainted with this system, but they aren't really figuring out where this is going to set up. And that's really due to, this would be a little bit more scientific, but there is going to be some really big pattern changes going on. Really, to simplify it, there's going to be a really big pattern change going on that creates colder air in the east, warmer air out in the west, and that's going to be happening at the same time that this storm system is occurring. So the models have a very hard time picking out what's going to happen when those events do happen. So that's why it is a really tricky forecast. And of course, we're going to get more details as we continue. My weekly forecast is going to be out tomorrow, and that's going to be spanning from the 19th all the way through the 26th. So make sure you do check that out. That'll be on my channel tomorrow. Anyways, guys, that was Eli the Weather Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.